All right, guys, it's Jahlon, and today we're doing an Ashes 101 on Freeholds. Now, this is going to be your 2023 update. Pretty much everything you knew about Freeholds is now outdated. So what I'm going to do in the first half of the video, I'm going to keep it completely objective. I'm going to just give you facts. And then in the back half of the video, I'm going to give you like my opinion editorial, and you're going to know when that happens because that's when the hat's going to come out. I want to give credit to Intrepid Studios. They adopted a much better live stream format. They had a lot of technical information. So the first half of their live stream was a slideshow, which I'm going to run through and give you a condensed version. I want to give them props for this. I do want to say that having almost an hour of an embedded video was once again bad. The slideshow was great. The live action footage was a little bit too off. And then they kind of went down rabbit holes, like talking about inventory. They should have kept it just freeholds. But what we got yesterday, much better looking visual for the freehold. Freeholds have grown in size. They used to be a half-acre plot. Now they are a 1.5 acre plot, and a lot more has changed. So we did find out that what was going to be going on was players must now complete a quest to unlock the ability to bid on any available freehold permits at a node. Now, one thing I don't like that they didn't put right into the video or make it very clear was what is the intended level to unlock the freehold quest, and we found out that is level 50. So nodes will hit stage 3 within a few days of launch, and nodes will need citizens in order to be functioning, but one of the housing models won't be available until you're level 50. With that, there will be predetermined parcels of land in each zone of influence, and they said that you can use a permit to lay claim to any available parcel. But what they didn't really make crystal clear was the auction system and the reasons why. The intent of the auction system is to provide players a non-land rush type system. Auctions will be held for each parcel that allows families to pool together their resources to acquire a deed, and give some time prep to individuals to prepare their resources to bid as well. As you can see, and as was directly said in the update video, freeholds are now intended to be more of a family mechanic. Freeholds are intended to be part of the family system. Now, we did get some nice art, and there is a video out that shows them in game. I know some people like live gameplay footage. One thing that did change, freeholds can now be sold. And I asked the question, I said, why can freeholds not be sold? Because it was supposed to be the one type of housing that could not transfer directly. Given the limited nature of the amount of freeholds available, it was decided that freeholds would make more sense in an open economy of supply and demand and the simulated real estate market it provides. This has always been a topic of conversation with the design team. That is their decision. That is the one they've made. Moving on, the update in 2023 is now your freehold must have some amount of it dedicated to a house, which is totally fine now that they've increased the size of freeholds from a half an acre to an acre and a half. Having different houses sizes is fine. You do have a housing requirement, but you can put a small house on it and not use up a lot of space. If you were looking forward to having a large house out in the middle of nowhere and having a nice little homestead, a nice little hamlet, your likelihood of having that has gone down drastically, but it's still possible for those who are willing to work hard. The house size controls the amount of furniture a person can place, and some furniture is restricted to indoor or outdoor, and furniture may have cosmetic or functional benefits. So a game like Arcade, there were many furniture pieces that could increase proficiency or other stats, so we might be looking at something like that in housing. They also did us the favor of showing us different styles of housing on the blueprints. The blueprint will dictate the base appearance, and they finally gave us an acceptable answer to the cosmetic question. The building cosmetics for freeholds are split into 3 main categories: housing, artisanship, and business. And you are not going to be restricted to, you can't put an alchemy lab on a say a blacksmith, because it's considered an artisanship building, so it can accept the freehold cosmetic. In the next few days, Intrepid has promised to release a list so everybody can get up to date. You do have the businesses. Businesses will provide services to other players. The freehold owner will be able to control permissions that grant access to the business building services. So this is like your tavern or your inn or your shop. We don't have all the details because this was a huge update as far as completely taking us in a new direction. So hopefully in the future we will get some more details on that. The artisan system, we did find out that each crafting and processing profession has an associated artisanship building, and you must construct that and upgrade it to place the specific professions stations. So, yes, there are going to be like lumber mills or forges, but you'll be able to skin those how you want. The artisan buildings can give benefits to all related stations on the freehold. So you need the building and then you need the stations. Freeholds are the only place where master and grandmaster processing is available. You can not get to master or grandmaster processing if you do not have access to a freehold that has the appropriate stations. And with that said, players can only craft up to the journeyman level on the freeholds. The best crafting is done in nodes, scientific nodes specifically. Now, for the processing, each processing profession has 4 processing stations that unlock as the players progress. In addition to raw resources required, processing stations require fuel, and an item may have a fuel value, and players can mix and match different fuels together to fuel the recipe. We've seen this in other games that are in development. Fractured Online is a game that has a specific material component and fuel component to reach a certain usability of the station. Now, they did share with us that you are going to be able to upgrade lots of things. For example, this is an example of a tavern. You can put feathered beds into your tavern, and the rested XP gained is jumped by an additional 20%, and the max amount of rested XP is increased by 30%. So not only would you want to find a tavern to rest in overnight, you'd want to find somebody that has made a good tavern. Or you might want to have some level of automation on your freehold, so you would want to have an arcane golem for your lumber milling process. Now, with that said, that is all of the factual updates. I would stick around for the next few minutes because you're going to find out some stuff that might not be your cup of tea. And with that said, the hat comes on because I got to go a little opinionated here. Owning cosmetics does not guarantee the acquisition of the item the cosmetic can be used on. Players must still achieve the corresponding item and building. Absolutely true. Intrepid Studios has had no problem over the last 5.5 years selling more than 60 different freehold cosmetics. And at no point have they ever really indicated the very low number of freeholds that would be available. When challenged on this, all players are capable of owning a freehold. True, absolutely true. All players are capable of owning a freehold. Acquiring achievements like T3 mounts, for the record, Intrepid has never sold a T3 mount skin, or T2 mounts to use cosmetics on will require varying degrees of effort, skill, and strategy. Once achieved, players can use those cosmetics. I'm very disappointed in this answer by Steven. I think it is very disingenuous to compare achieving a freehold, which people have thought there was going to be ample space. People were thinking that they would be able to get a freehold in the world, and trying to compare that to the difficulty of getting a T2 mount. When challenged, I asked, are T2 mounts limited, like freeholds are limited? And I did not get an answer. This is one of the few times that I am going to straight up call Steven Sharif disingenuous, and I believe he has entered the ranks of, say, Jake Song or John Schmedley in his answering. Intrepid years ago, Steven said he did not want white knights in his content creator program. It seems that they only want people that are willing to toe the party line. With that said, it was asked how many freeholds are going to be available on a server. With regards to the number of freeholds on a server, this is something we will be testing in Alpha 2. The intent is to be highly sought after and the most significant effort to achieve. There are 3 other options when it comes to player housing, and ultimately every player on a server will have the ability to achieve and own a home. At the moment, we are targeting the low thousands for freehold plots in the world. This number is fluctuating based on, obviously, the world state. As nodes grow, more freedom will become available. Achieving a freehold will be a goal for many players and achievable by those who are willing to spend the time, energy, and strategy to acquire. Let's break this down. You're planning on having a server with 10,000 concurrent players, and you are going to assign 15,000 people at launch to those servers, and you've stated your plan is to grow that number to 50,000 assigned per server. In the low thousands, so let's say 4,000, because 4,000 is the low thousands. In fact, no, let's do 5,000. Even that would be mid thousands. Let's say 5,000. That means 1/3 of the people assigned at launch would even have the ability to get a freehold. I think it was very disingenuous of Intrepid to sell cosmetic skins for freeholds for 5.5 years and not state the level of difficulty that would happen here. They are not learning lessons from ArcAge or Final Fantasy XIV. In ArcAge, many people quit because land barons were able to hold all the land. Now that freeholds are able to be sold in the real estate market, the land baron concept is alive and well. Final Fantasy is a great testament to both why limited housing is bad and a bidding system is bad, because there are many guilds in Final Fantasy XIV who have spent multiple years trying to get a house, and they can't even get a small house to begin doing things like airships and submarines. Next up, there are 3 other options when it comes to player housing, and ultimately every player on a server will have the ability to achieve and own a home. This is not true. This is absolutely not true. Every player will have the ability to achieve housing because apartments are instanced. Now, previously there were going to be 8 homes in a stage 3 node, and that node house node quantity would increase as the node grew. Since then, Intrepid has dropped the total number of nodes from 103 to 85. Of those 85 nodes, 20 of them will be stage 0, stage 1, or stage 2. So that's leaving really 65 nodes that will have in-node housing. Now, when I did question this with Steven, he said all those design decisions have changed, and so we'll have to stay tuned. I think that answer should have been loaded and ready to go. If you're going to make a radical change to the freehold system and then say, but it's okay, you'll get other housing, you should have had that answer ready and loaded and ready to fire. As far as the other 2 remaining types of housing, instanced apartments being one of them, again, they're not learning the lessons from Final Fantasy XIV. Final Fantasy XIV instituted a policy of instanced apartments when their player base could not achieve their own housing, and it was accepted, but it makes you a second-class citizen. As far as inns being a type of home, I'm sorry, an inn is not my home. They said during the live stream specifically, inns will be a place that you can go to have a temporary spot to recoup and recover. That's not a home. That's a business relationship. And finally, achieving a freehold will be a goal for many players and achievable by those players who are willing to spend the time, energy, and strategy to acquire. This is not a genuine statement. This is a PR statement, and Steven asked me years ago to not be a white knight, but not be a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist. Telling people that if they spend the time and energy to achieve something is a lot different than telling somebody the strategy, because let me remind you, you can't just achieve it with time and energy. There is a finite number of freeholds, so you could work really hard and then never win the bid. Or you could work really hard, win the bid, secure a freehold, and a week later it gets destroyed. Intrepid Studios, if you want constructive feedback, rethink your entire freehold process. Look at a game called Fractured Online, which is currently in development. Don't do a bidding system, and don't make people wait until level 50 to get their housing. Fractured has made the plots in the open world claimable as soon as you have the gold. That is the direction you need to be moving. Additionally, you talked about being able to place the freehold anywhere in the parcel of land. Don't do this, because people are going to not utilize space. If you have enough room in a parcel for 6 freeholds, allow 6 freeholds to be placed. I know you didn't want to have player-made villages, but if you allow player-made villages in the parcels, you will keep a much higher amount of your population happy, and people will, want to give you a subscription fee. Talk about this one. Will there be a fee that we can profit from for people to use our processing stations? Yes. Players can charge others for access to their family. or one-time fees they can impose through player trading, but there won't be UI systems that help facilitate this specifically. Why not? If one of the design pillars is player agency, and one of the goals of Ashes of Creation is to be better than every other MMO, then why are you not learning from the mistakes of ArcAge, where people had stations that were valuable, but because they could not make a transactional fee on that, everybody had to build their own because no one was willing to share. I do not believe that players are going to behave in a way that Steven is hoping and almost requiring them to for this distribution of processing stations to function. I followed up with the question, and at this point I was getting disenfranchised with the discussion. Do you think it's okay to charge someone to join your family? And remember, there's a cooldown between joining a family and leaving a family. But you can't set up a system to put a transactional fee on a processing station and then set that to public. And the answer I got was, well, we can, but I feel this is already achieved organically among players without having to devote developmental resources towards coding a built-in system for that management. So it's not going to be a player-driven economy. It's going to be a player-driven buy a slot in a family. Because let's not forget, if freeholds are limited, the large guilds will dominate the land ownership. Despite the fact that Steven said it's designed to not have a land rush style, the large guilds will be the people that are able to take the first 2, 3, 4 weeks off from their jobs, race to 50, have the money available, bid on plots, drop their freeholds, make profit, and secure other freeholds. As a gamer of 20 plus years, and I'm saying this to Steven, who is also a gamer of 20 plus years, please explain to me why you believe large guilds aren't going to be able to simply dominate the freehold market by organizing their people into families and claiming all the freeholds. I take into account all feedback. My first response is give us constructive feedback in a format that is conducive to our iterative process. Well, we can't do that because you're not sharing the ideas. You're no longer sharing ideas before you make decisions. You're making decisions and then you're looking for external validation. It would have been much better if 2 years ago you had said, we're thinking about making changes to the freehold process. What do you guys think about this? If Intrepid Studios really wants constructive feedback towards their iterative process, tell us the changes you plan on making before you make them. Be respectful and constructive when conveying subjective thoughts. If at any time your confidence hits a point where you are unable to provide respectful feedback, then consider stepping away from the development journey. It may not be for everyone. I think at this point yesterday is where I basically was starting to want to walk away, not during the process. If you have people that are giving you feedback in such a way and they're frustrated, maybe you should be recognizing that as people get frustrated, it's because you are no longer producing the Ashes of Creation that you were going to produce in 2017. You're producing something that nobody quite recognizes anymore. So I understand that it's demoralizing for Intrepid to have somebody who is, toxic virtual, and giving feedback 3 days a week. But you can go ahead and ask one of your designers who sits in my stream. I am capable of having perfectly rational conversations, but you've basically sold a bill of goods over the years, and now you're not delivering on what you sold. We're going to play mental gymnastics of what you said and what you didn't say. And the problem with mental gymnastics of what you said versus what you didn't say is that you're not interested in hearing what you actually said. You're just looking for external validation for your decisions. Now, with that said, maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe 100% of people are going to say I'm completely wrong. Maybe 90% of people are going to say I'm completely wrong. Maybe it's only 80% of people are going to say I'm completely wrong. Either way, leave your comments below. Tell me if you like the freehold changes. Tell me if you don't like the freehold changes. Tell me if you think I'm completely wrong about my interpretation of what happened in ArcAge and what happened in Final Fantasy XIV. Because it is, of course, yes, a subjective view of a situation. Until then, you guys take this, digest it. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. And then I will see you guys when I'm live on Twitch doing my Q&A shows.